This is Yong Pratt, and you're listening to the Studio Success Formula podcast.
Welcome to the Studio Success Formula podcast, the business school for dance studio owners. And now for your host, Clint Salter.
Hi, dance studio owners. It's Clint Salter from Studio Success Formula, and thank you for joining us on today's episode with someone who is just like you, a studio owner. Our guest today is the owner of Elko Academy of the Arts, which is based in Nevada. Her studio started 14 years ago as a dance studio, and they now offer classes in music, karate, and acro, giving parents a one-stop shop for children activities. Her and I first connected last year when she became a member of the Studio Success Formula program, and I knew I just had to get her on the show as she's very interactive and helpful to other studio owners in our community. I'll let her tell you a little bit more. So please welcome our guest on the show today, Yong Pratt. Hi, Yong.
Hi, Clint. It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, great to have you. Now, Yong, many of our audience members might not know who you are. So could you give us a little bit of background on you and your studio?
Sure. I actually came to dance as a latecomer. I came and took my official first class at the age of 18 at college. And since then, I've been totally hooked on dance. I've had the fortunate opportunity to travel throughout North America and Europe and performed. And then in 2001, I opened up my dance school. And as you said earlier, I've expanded now to offer music lessons, acro, and karate.
Awesome, and we're definitely going to jump into that. Now, I want to touch on your teachers because you've got 8 teachers, you've got 3 administration staff in your studio, and I'm sure it wasn't always the case. So I'd love to hear how you've been able to increase your resources and what's the structure of your admin staff and what do you have them do to make your life easier and the business run more efficiently?
Sure, and like most other studio owners, I was my business for a number of years. I had no admin staff and I was doing everything. And burnout was definitely a daily feeling. So the first step that I took, I actually hired somebody to come do admin at my house a couple of days a week. And she would come and do paperwork, she would enter data, and she would make phone calls so I could work on really growing our programs.
Awesome. And so, because so many studio owners, like you said, you're wearing every hat at the beginning. You're the accountant, you're the admin staff, you're the teacher, you're the business owner, you're the marketer, you're doing everything. I mean, what was that point that you thought, you know what, I have to do this. If I'm going to grow this business, I have to get someone in that can support me with these, what I like to call low value tasks?
The biggest thing was having a baby for me. I was, getting a lot of students, growing the studio really quickly, and I just was dropping a lot of balls and feeling really unsuccessful because I wasn't being able to follow through like I really wanted to. So hiring that first staff member was huge, and at the time, I didn't have a front desk location at that studio. So when I moved into my current studio 7 years ago, she actually became my office manager. And even now to this day, she just works for me still part-time. She works Monday through Friday, and primarily she's there to make sure that the day-to-day operations of the school run smoothly. She does things like updating our website, she handles our billing, she screens all the emails, she reaches out to customers, and really is basically my gatekeeper. She's the one who prevents people from getting direct access to me, which actually saves me tons of time. And then in the evenings, I have 2 college students working part-time for me, and their main purpose is really engaging with the customers that walk through the door, getting to know the kids who come in, getting to know those families. And they do other things as well later in the evening, like registering students when they come in, or they maintain our birthday board. But really, my main responsibility for them is to really get to know and engage with those families so we can really build those relationships.
And I love that because, I'm all about relationships. And so a lot of studio owners, though, don't put a focus on building, nurturing those relationships. I mean, how did you kind of go, wow, you know what? I actually need to put a focus and get people in my business to, work on these, to build on these. Because what's the result that you've seen from doing that?
Well, I've been working on cultivating this relationship piece for a number of years, but it wasn't really until the end of last season. I had some craziness happen, and needless to say, I lost about a third of my enrollment as well as about a quarter of my staff. So it really was important to me that the people who came into our studio from that day forward really get to know the new us. We transformed everything from our culture to our dress code. And really our biggest piece this year is being able to, make a lot of connections with these parents and really get to know them personally. Because like you, I feel like that personal connection is what's going to keep them coming back year after year.
Yeah, exactly. And increase that retention and also provide them. I always say, love and support cannot be bought.
Absolutely.
And it can't. That can't be replicated. The studio down the road, across the road, upstairs from you, wherever a studio opens, that can't be replicated. They can't replicate that feeling that people get from walking into your studio and the service that they get from you and your staff.
Absolutely. And we've been putting a lot of steps into place as far as follow-up from that first initial phone call or email or walk-in. We now are following up with them directly with a phone call, with an email, reminding them of things like upcoming trial lessons. If they miss that, we reschedule. So
Perfect.
The follow-up piece for us is becoming really, really important. And I feel people really are reacting positively to as much nurturing as we're doing.
Excellent. Nice work. Good to see the implementation coming into place, which is the key. Now, I want to get on to marketing because bringing more students through the door is a priority for most studio owners. And, we've spoken about, your online marketing strategies that you're doing have been really effective in relation to your website and landing pages. So can you share with us maybe a few strategies that are working for you today?
Sure. I guess there's two pieces here. One of them is taking out a lot of Facebook ads. We've done a series of 3 different ones in the past couple of months. And whenever we do take out an ad, we always attract new likes, which is great. So we're then able to follow up with them, reach out to them via private message through Facebook, which is great. But as far as getting new clients to us, we give out a lot of things like reports or free passes. And for every one of those promotions, we set up a landing page using lead pages. And from there, it actually goes into our email system where we're able to follow up, invite them to come in and really experience what we have to offer for them.
Yeah, awesome. So you've been following what we've set out in the program, essentially.
Absolutely, yes.
Great. And that's the key. What I love about this conversation and what I've picked up, in talking about your enrollment process now with the follow-ups that you're doing, if they don't come to a trial class, it's so funny. So many people I'll say, how many inquiries, how many new student leads have you got in? And they'll say, 20. How many of those came to a trial? Well, we don't really know. And not knowing those numbers is a big disaster, I think, because you've got to know that everyone's reached out to you for a purpose, so they want to come to dance because they've reached out to you, and it's your responsibility to make sure you get them to that trial class or that trial week. And I think I spoke about this in our VIP Q&A call for February, but I talked about that fact that you're not pestering people, like people have reached out to you to come to a class, like follow up with them, get them into that trial class. If they missed that first one, get them into that second one. And I think so many studio owners drop the ball there. But it sounds like you've got a system in place now where you can go, oh, that person didn't come, follow them up.
Right, and it's something that still sort of evolves day to day. We're actually just working on a new piece of software now that will actually help us to automate the process. So it's not a matter of, one person reminding the next person and they forget. Yeah. But there's actually an accountability system where we can say, okay, this person did this step. Now we're going to pass it off to this person who's now responsible for the next step. So making my staff accountable has been really huge.
Awesome. Now, I'd love to know, what's the one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you started your studio?
Sure, and this was a good question. I really wish that in the very beginning, somebody would have told me that delegation was the key to success. I found that to really build a business that I now love and am passionate about every day, I have to find the people who who fill in my weaknesses so that I can focus on what I'm best at.
And how do you identify that?
There are some things that I just naturally gravitate towards. I love putting together marketing pieces and I love talking with people. So those are the things I really feel like I really want to be doing in my business. And so things like actually scheduling them to go out, I don't like those things so much. So I actually have my office manager handle most of those things. So I get to do what I love and what I feel like I'm best at doing, and everyone else fills in the rest for me.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that is such a good point, is identifying what you're great at, but also what you love, because I see studio owners up at 2 a.m. who are doing invoicing and they don't love that. And they shouldn't be doing that type of work either.
Right.
And so it's really identifying the high value tasks, those tasks that are going to make more of a difference to your students, make more of a difference to your bottom line, the income that's coming in to the studio, but also what you really enjoy doing. I talk to lots of studio owners who are still teaching, and I occasionally say to them they need to pull back their teaching hours. They're doing too many hours teaching classes and they need to be working more on running the business. For a lot of them, though, a lot of those classes are just what they love doing. They just love taking that preschooler class, or they love taking maybe a senior competition class. And it's great, but then it's going, okay, I'll allow myself to do that, but I need help in these other areas then. You can't do it all. And I love that you have mentioned that you wish you knew that delegation was the key to success, because I think for a dance studio, it is one of the really core elements that you've got to get nailed quite quickly if you want to grow and succeed and not burn out. You talked about burnout.
Yes.
When you've got all those hats on and you're doing a million things and you're trying to balance a family and to have a life outside of the studio, I think that's really crucial. I mean, how do you, how many children do you have now?
I have 2 right now. I have 2 daughters.
Fantastic. So how do you go kind of balancing a business that's offering a lot of different things and having a family to look after?
It's a daily challenge for me, for sure. Even though I have steps in place that people do things, occasionally a ball gets dropped or someone gets sick and the follow through is not there. So definitely, I really try to segment out my daytime when the kids are at school. I really try to focus on doing the productive work then. And then in the afternoon, I still teach. I actually took myself out of the business for a number of years and taught 1 class a week. But I felt like part of me was missing. So now I'm back in doing more. And definitely everyone has that own balance tipping point where they need to figure out, how many classes are too many, how many are not enough. But for me now, being back in the studio, seeing those parents and seeing those kids and really engaging with them every week, I love that step now. And so thankfully, both of my kids go to the studio as well. So we get to mix our work time and play time together. And we still get to be able to have very productive and very great times engaging with one another.
Yeah, excellent. That's fantastic. Now, I want to talk about the studio, what's happening inside the studio, because you offer a multitude of classes for a range of different children and families. So how do you maintain running diverse programs while making it convenient for parents to bring, multiple family members to different programs at the same time?
Right. And this was something for a long time I was really scared to sort of jump in and do. But I did that for a couple of reasons. One of which was that my 2 daughters really were interested in 2 different programs. One of them wanted to do karate and one of them wanted to do some drum lessons at the time. So for me as a mom, I was in that searching mode trying to find programs for them. But on the other hand, people would come to us all the time and say, hey, do you know someone who teaches acro lessons? Do you know someone who teaches piano? So for those 2 reasons, I just sort of said, you know what, I don't want to send anybody else out the door. They're asking for these programs, so I really need to figure out how to make that work. And it was really just a matter of trial and error, finding the right people who believe in our mission and who could help me grow the programs to where I want them to be was key.
Yeah, excellent. And so talk about what programs are you offering at the moment? So I mentioned you've got karate, music, acro, you've got dance as well. I mean, is that across all age groups? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, most of our programs are pretty much for all ages. We do start most of our programs at age 3. We at different times try to implement younger classes like Mommy and Me. And, in my area, I find that those are not super productive for me. So we've just started to focus on the 3 and up. So our karate classes, though, start at age 5 and go all the way up. And we came up with that number because the instructor herself didn't really feel comfortable doing younger kids. So we took to her strengths. We took what she wanted to do and what's her passion and let her sort of maintain and grow the program. And now it's our second largest program at the studio, which is huge.
Wow.
And then as far as music, I played an instrument when I was a kid, but certainly I'm not a musician. So that was a new piece I had to sort of figure out along the way. And it took, we've had a lot of music teachers over the years now. We've had this program, I think, for 5 or 6 years now. And it's just growing steadily every year. And again, finding those staff members that are passionate about teaching, and then the ability for me to be able to take time with them and nurture their strengths and help them develop into the teachers they want to become is really a big part of the puzzle as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And because, I'm a big believer that, your teachers are the backbone of your studio. They're the reason that those kids, those students turn up every week with smiles on their faces. You've got to have the right team. You've got to have that A team in place. Can you tell me a little bit about your recruitment process for teachers? How do you make sure that you're bringing in the right people?
Yeah, and this is an interesting one too. I live in a small town, so the number of trained teachers, whether it's dance or music or acro, is pretty limited. So really, I've had to grow teachers from the ground up. And I'm always talking to people in town, business owners, friends, and I always ask them for information about teachers. And I found just about every teacher I have now through asking other people, asking the parents, asking everyone that I knew, and most of them came as a referral. So because of that, I really felt that they were already a good match because they were referred. We actually have gone through a traditional hiring process with teachers, and for us, that has not been super successful.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think any referral is great, whether it's a restaurant up the road or it's a referral for a staff member. I mean, that social proof and that word of mouth strategy for anything, I think, is extremely valuable. Now, we've spoken a little bit about your customer service and how building relationships is really at the core of what you do. But how do you ensure you're engaging with students and dance families all year round, both online and offline? Because it doesn't stop now, when they leave the studio. We now have to keep up with social media and Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram. I mean, how do you kind of manage all of those balls so that you're focusing on what makes a difference?
Right. So one of the first things I had my admin staff do this year is that every week, no matter what the week, if it was short, if it was long, whatever the case may be, they have to write 3 personal notes to 3 different people within our community. And it could be somebody that they helped, somebody that was angry or upset about something, someone new that just registered, but they really, whatever it is, they have to just reach out and make a connection. So that's been a really big piece of the puzzle to make sure my staff is accountable and we're reaching out to people on an individual level.
Yeah. And so all staff do like 3 notes a week.
So just my admin staff, the 3 admin staff, they all do 3 personal notes. I also do 3 personal notes. So in any given week, we have 12 notes going out. So we can really connect on a deeper level with our customers. And then for my teaching staff, the one thing that I'm requiring this year is that either before or after class, they actually have to come and talk to the parents. And if they don't see the parents for a number of weeks, we actually will have them call and make that connection with the parents. Because we found that the teachers that connect with the parents are the ones that are retained year after year.
That is great. I love the notes, I love the notes idea. I think it's really personal. And do you have like a postcard or a notepad or something that is branded with your studio, or what do you do around that?
We have both. We actually have branded ones with our studio logo on the front, and we just write a handwritten note in the inside. Sometimes, though, we just go out and buy fun little cards that say, hi, how's it going? Just because we want to get to know them, not on a commercial level per se, but really want to, make them know us and like us and trust us. So we want to be a little bit more personal with those things. So we started just going to the store and buying some fun and colorful cards there.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great, it's a great strategy. And we work, and a lot of the strategies that I talk about are based around like 90 days and getting personal and, doing Christmas cards and doing bits and pieces like that. So I love that, you've got 12 notes going out every week to people to, just make those relationships stronger and get to know people, in your community, in your dance family.
Yeah, and a couple other things we have going on too. We actually celebrate birthdays. So we have 2 different birthday boards within our school, and for whenever somebody has a birthday, we put together a little parfait. It's a little plastic mug or a little cup full of, little toys or pieces of candy. And it just says, happy birthday from us. And it has a pencil in there that looks like a straw. And, the kids and the parents are just always so surprised that we give them something like that on their birthdays. And we sing to the kids, which the kids love, no matter what their age. They always like that. And we actually put together a studio app, which has been really big in letting us be able to constantly communicate with our families, and everything is in one central location.
Yeah, and I mean, the app's great. Do you use Team App, or have you had an app made, or?
I use Conduit Mobile. So before Team App came out, I had some friends who put together something on Conduit Mobile. So I actually went that route. But yeah, it's great now because everything, once you're in the app, you can get directly to the Facebook page, you can get to Instagram, Pinterest, you can report that your child's going to be missing from classes. You can do a whole bunch of stuff there. And we really were trying to make sure that everyone who walks through the doors are getting not only personal attention, but have all the information they need to feel like they know what's going on.
Yeah. And I think that's a big one for a lot of parents, parents that I've spoken to who are at dance studios. One of the biggest complaints is that they feel like they're not in the loop. They feel like they don't know what's going on, and they'll get an email half an hour before a change, or you're obviously quite organized when it comes to the communication that needs to go out to your students and parents.
Yeah, we definitely try to make that a huge priority because as a parent, I certainly want to know when things are happening, when things are due, as far in advance as possible. So we actually, we have a whole yearly calendar that we try to stick with. Parents have access to that on our website. We email that to them. So they should really know big picture throughout the year what's happening at any given time.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. Now, as a studio owner, I know you're faced with challenges daily. What's your process for moving through and getting through those tough times, those challenges, to come out the other end?
Right. So over the summer, after the end of last season, definitely had to deal with this big time. I had to sort of figure out what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to continue my business, whether I wanted to walk away, and what my life was going to look like. So the one thing I really had to sort of dig deep and get clear on was my why, and why was I doing it, and what do I want my legacy to be? Now that I know that, it's very easy for me to communicate that with my staff, and having them know sort of the big vision has really helped to make them part of the process. They help me to brainstorm things we want to do. We actually just finished off our yearly brainstorming session where they told me everything they wanted to do in the coming year, and we're going to do our best to make all those things happen.
And that must be really exciting, for your staff to kind of bring everyone together and say, look, this is not just about me, this is about us as a team, providing a great service to our customers. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to make happen this year? I mean, that must have really excited them.
Absolutely. And I think, this is really the first time I would say in a number of years where I've had a staff that was so on board with our mission and our culture that it feels really good to be in a place where we're all working towards the same goal. There's no one pulling us down. There's no one saying, hey, we can't do it like that. We're all in it together. And I really have tried to adjust my thinking too to make it a cooperative environment. While at the end of the day, it's still my business. They're in this with me, and I'm not going to get there unless they're on board with me. So having them be part of every step of the process and doing the brainstorming has been really, really special for them, because now I know that they're friends outside of work, which is great because, there's that connection that we've created, and that's been a really important piece for us.
100%. I'm so happy when you said I just got connected to my why and thought about what is the legacy that I want to leave the world, leave the community. And it's such a big question, but with those studio owners who maybe are listening and they're in that tough time, that you talked about burnout and, at the end of the year going, well, what am I going to do? I've got to make a decision. And sometimes it feels like it would be easier just to say, I'm going to give this up. You know what? I'm going to give it up. It's too hard. There's too many challenges. But you started it for a reason in the first place, and I think that is really about what you said, connecting with, why? Why do I do what I do? Because I can assure you, as a studio owner, you could go and get a job somewhere else and think, yeah, but I'm getting a paycheck every week and I only have to work 9 to 5 and it'll be easy. But I think you got to reconnect then with the great things that happen by owning a dance studio.
Right. And it definitely took a lot of, sheer will to get back to the point where I felt passionate about what I do. Because it was really just it would have been much easier just to walk away. But at the end of the day, especially now that I have 2 kids who are very much involved in what we do, they were definitely part of my why. Knowing that if I didn't do what I did, I would have to be forced to take them to my competitors. And that was definitely a no-go for me. I didn't want them going somewhere else because I know it's out there. And I know that we can only offer things the way we do it at our place. And I wanted my kids to have what we offer. And I know that my story is not over. And, we're really there to help the parents, and we're helping the kids. And I just really had to get clear on the legacy is not complete yet. So I had to get back in and jump in. But now that I'm there, I have to say with certainty that getting super, super clear was the key to where I am today, as far as being happy with my business, happy with my staff, and happy with everything in my life.
I love, the saying clarity equals power, because I think when you've got absolute clarity, you can just push forward, and you feel powerful and strong and on purpose. And it definitely sounds like you're at that point.
Yes, I'm back again, and it's definitely good to be here. But I understand that it takes a lot of work to get here. And for any studio owners out there, certainly, keep plugging away and connect with your why. And from there, everything else will fall into place.
Great advice. Now, I want to ask you for one kind of gold nugget. What's that last piece of advice for studio owners out there who want to take their studio to the next level, or want to get that clarity, want to re-engage, feel re-motivated? I mean, what's your advice for them?
So I would say to them, don't let what you think you don't know stop you from achieving your goals. If I go back to implementing new programs, I had no idea how to add a music program. I didn't know how to add an acro program. But if I had stopped at, I don't know how to do that, and not found a way to do that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
I think that's great, finding a way, because, I think there always is a way. I don't think there's ever a brick wall. I actually think, or if there is, I think we can punch through it. But you make the decision at that point to either punch through the brick wall or kind of go, I'm defeated and I'm not going to push through it.
Right. And this is really true, too, when we're all learning new technology. I mean, if you kind of just stop and say, oh, my gosh, my plate is so full with all these to-dos to make this happen, it would be much easier just to stop. But again, you have to just know that at the end of your day, or at the end of your story, that if you had taken those steps, while they may have been time-consuming as well as confusing, if you hadn't done those things, definitely you couldn't get to where you want to be.
Yeah, and I love that because technology is a big one for studio owners, and especially what I found, with our program members, the studio owners that I talk to as well, is that the technology can be confusing. It can be confusing getting into a new email marketing system or, working out Facebook advertising or working out, partnership programs, whatever it might be. There's some time and energy that you've got to spend getting in there, watching training videos, figuring it out. But the idea is once you know it, you do it once, you can implement it many, many, many times, and then you can delegate it to your team to do it. So I think a lot of people, I'm glad you brought it up. I think a lot of studio owners look at it, go, it's too hard, and they just put it at the bottom of their to-do list and it never kind of gets done. But in doing that, they're actually spending more and more time on doing things manually that are not going to get them a better result.
Exactly.
Great. Well, look, I've loved talking to you. Like I said, you're one of our program members, and it's great to have you in our community. Where can people go to find out more about you and your studio?
Sure. Our website for the school is Elko, ELKO, arts.org. And on Facebook, we can be found at Elko Arts Academy, or they can reach out to me via email at Yong, YONG, at elkoarts.org.
Perfect. Well, look, I really appreciate your time today in sharing so many of the strategies, the knowledge and the wisdom that you've gained over the last 14 years running your dance studio. And I'm super, super excited to see, where it goes this year and for the many years to come.
Well, thanks again, Clint, for having me. It was awesome to be here, and it's been awesome.
Take care, and we will talk to you again really soon.
All right. Thanks, Clint. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you want more strategies to grow your dance studio, we have something awesome we want to send you. It's a 4-part video training series on how you attract, enroll, and retain more students in your dance studio. You won't find this information anywhere else. As one of our listeners, we'd love to give you this video training series absolutely free. You can get access to the video training right now by going to attractstudentstoday.com. Take care, and we'll see you next time.